Check it out. I got a free tractor the other day. I love these Simplicity Regents. These are really well-made machines, and I was half thinking about keeping this one, but you know, I'll probably fix it and sell it. All right, gross rainy day today, but that's gonna give you a good idea of what's going on with this thing. I'm missing that headlight bezel. Like, the Simplicities never hold on to their headlights, the headlight lens, just never. All right, so obviously it's free, it's not running. Missing the air cover and tons of water down there, and lots of other stuff, like the ground wire isn't connected. That's supposed to be, that's got to be connected to the carb somehow for the anti-backfire solenoid to work. And then looks like the choke cable is off. The fuel line is disconnected. So, you know, they all have a story, right? So you want to hear the story. So the guy had a buddy do an oil change. After he did the oil change, the guy said it never really ran again. Never ran right. I don't know, maybe he left all that stuff off. Either that or the guy, the owner, was messing with it. Lots of talk about a solenoid. There's 2 more solenoids here. So that's probably a new one, and this is maybe the original. Who knows? None of them look grounded to me. So yeah, there's a 523 battery. That's amazing. You know, thing looks in great shape. Like, won't need anything cosmetically. But what I got to really think about is if I want a spring for the, you know, $100 or $150 headlight bezel. But anyway, let's get this carb off. Oh, see, I have the air cover. I had an extra one, so that didn't come with it. I had that one. Let's see if we could do this one-handed. I'm gonna lose everything, but let's see. Yeah. So that is amazing, but I think we're gonna be, whoa, that is rusty in there too, man. There's a lot of water in there. That is not a good sign. Yeah, I wish this thing wasn't out in the weather, but not much I could do about that. Let's just hope it hasn't been too long. Maybe I can spin this engine over and kick some of that out. Of course, that's gonna suck in, right? Anyway, I got it. You know, this was a real problem because this just funnels water straight into the carb. It's better off like this. So I'll let this drain a little bit because it's really actually coming out now. Anyway, looks kind of like a new carb to me, right? Looks like we got to put a new carb on it. This carb doesn't look like it's gonna bounce back. I suppose it's worth a try. But yeah, that's terrible. All right, guys, this looks like a fun project. Of course, when it's done, I think it's gonna look amazing. Would really love to find that head lens for free. Let's see what happens. Here's what we're cooking with this carburetor. Really pretty gross. Looks like it's going to be difficult to get this pin out. But yeah, this is going to get some time with the ultrasonic. Well, several days later, but I've had this charger on the battery here, And this thing is one of my best battery chargers. It just charges every battery. This thing was, look at this battery, it's a 523. So right now it's 923. So this is a brand new battery, and it was dead. And my normal battery charger, one of the smart ones, wouldn't do it. But this always will. It's nice to have that. It's even got the go handle. The battery's installed. The solenoid here is floating, but this is the newest solenoid out of the batch that came with this thing. There's 3 solenoids that came with this machine. And I can hear the fuel shutoff solenoid clicking, but it still has no crank. And pretty positive I can bridge this and get it to go. Yeah. So it will go. If you bridge the solenoid, I know some of you are saying, well, this needs to be grounded. Well, it's a 4-post, and it's got a designated ground running to it. So yeah, I could zip it down to the frame, but it doesn't need that. Not like a 3-post solenoid. So I've been looking for a fuse on this, and I can't find a fuse on this machine. So that's what I'm thinking is the problem. So I gotta find a fuse. There's gotta be one somewhere. It does, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. This kind of looks like a fuse, but it also looks like a starter relay. But that could just be like a simple fuse. So I might try to bridge the gap on these, because maybe this is dead. Yeah, but I really want to figure out the crank problem. In other news, off camera, I did get the carb a couple cycles through the ultrasonic, and then I reinstalled it. So, wow, that fuel line is dead. That's probably gonna leak right away, but I gotta look into that. Yeah, I'm hoping to hear this thing run, but gotta figure out. I really want to figure out the no crank issue. I don't want to just bridge the gap on the solenoid. I want to try to fix this thing. Cracking into the key switch here a bit, because maybe it's the key switch, you know. So that's all fried up. So it definitely could be a wiring issue. Although, I mean, everything seems like it's there. But you could definitely see some melted plastic. And this thing, if you shake it, you can, it's like sand in there. I don't know what that thing is. So we got a couple problems here. Well, I popped this little thing open. It was filled with rust and everything, and one of these connections here is no longer being made, if you can see that. So looks corroded and nasty and everything, and I'm kind of curious if this thing has continuity at all. So got my multimeter here. Obviously it's not going to have continuity like this. I want to see if I press it. Yeah, if I press it, if I make that connection, then it has continuity. What is this thing? I really don't know. It seems extremely unnecessary to me, but I guess it's some sort of fuse or resistor, or I don't really know. But I'm gonna try to clean it up and I guess solder it back together. It's probably my best bet. Either that or I could bypass it, but I think we'll try to fix it first. I'll just lay down a little bit of solder. Might be hard to actually get it to stick in place here. Yeah, not going great. Yeah, it's just beating off of it. Alright, that's kind of a fail. Alright, well, it doesn't look great, but you can see a little drop of solder right there. And it does have continuity, so I don't know. I guess I'm going to put it back together. Just to show you, fully assembled. Good continuity now. So I don't think this is going to fix it, but that's one thing checked off the list. Okay, I think I figured it out. Here's the solenoid that was on the machine. This is the one I was trying. It looks pretty new, right? If you look close, you can see it's a bit warped. I think why this guy was burning out solenoids was because the starter Bendix gear was stuck on the flywheel. I think he was just cranking this thing and melting down solenoids one after another. That's why there are 3 of them. Anyway, so I think this one, I can feel it clicking. So I have everything connected. Everything's correct. Even that fuse thing is correct. I can feel it clicking, but it won't actually crank the engine over. So I took this one out. It's 4-post solenoid, obviously, but it's got literally 2 posts. And I have another solenoid in here. I doubt you're going to be able to see it, but it has, like, instead of these threaded posts, it has like the wire connection where you put the crimped wire thing on. So this is what I created: posts that connect to wire crimps, okay, so that I can take the, again, you're never going to be able to see it. Maybe I'll show you. I'll get you down in there. Okay, so the yellow one here, this is the power wire from the key switch, and then that goes right onto the post, and then you have a ground wire that goes onto the 4th post of the 4-post solenoids. And so this is the thing I created. So this one I'll connect like this. I'm doing this one-handed, but that's going to connect in there, and then the other side is going to go onto the solenoid. I don't know if you could tell, but that type of connection goes on that solenoid there. I had this as a spare part. So I think that's going to do it. So let me hook this up and we'll see if this finally cranks over. Okay, so it's all hooked up in there. Got my parking brake back. This had fallen down into the chassis, but got that hooked up, so my parking brake's on. Oh, so something seems like a loose connection, but I can actually hear the starter engaging. So I think we're onto something. Obviously I got checked to see if this thing really wants to be grounded. I have it floating here because I don't think it needs to be, because it's got a designated ground, but I can always ground it. So let me check all my connections. We'll try that again. Well, I can't figure it out right now. I don't know what's going on here. I got it bolted down now. So if it needed to contact the frame, we got it contacting the frame. I even put a jumper pack on the battery in case this was just too low voltage. Still does the same thing. Listen. And it's spinning the flywheel a little bit. Not fast at all, like just really creeping along. So something is not correct. Maybe I could see why this guy kept frying solenoids. I can't find any other bit of electronic anything on this tractor. So unless we're talking about this is a seat safety or just safety issue, one of these safety switches, I don't know what's going on here. I could, of course, try another solenoid. This one was just grabbed out of my parts bin, so who knows? Yep, we'll figure it out. It's Saturday, so it means it's raining. But luckily the shed is free. So push this thing in here, and I'm going to work a bit off camera, try to get this solenoid figured out. Yesterday I was reviewing the footage I've recorded so far, and I noticed that I had never tried to bump the starter. So I got my jump pack hooked up to it. And I think we have a dead starter. So check it out. We got power. I got it hooked up to the positive of the, the starter, and then I'll apply some ground. I'm getting connection, but nothing is moving. I know it's kind of violent to watch, but so I was getting this thing to move a little bit, but I wonder if the issue is this, and I can see someone's been beating on this. So I know I have another Kohler command over here, I think. Yeah, this is a command, and there's a starter, so let's try to swap out a starter, see if that does it. Here's the command engine, and this is the one I took the air cover off of for this machine anyway. So as you can see, I've done some internal work on this thing, but it seems to have something still wrong with the governor, so I haven't been able to really use this, although it should be a good engine. It just, I don't know, it's quickly turning into a parts engine. Wow, that's really on there. Okay. Wow. Okay. We'll use the impact. 10 millimeter is the smallest one I have for my impact here. I got it. Say what you will about Ryobi. I know. Let's make sure this one works, right? I'm sure it will. That works fine. Here's the starter that was on the machine, and if you could tell already, it's all jammed up, and it sounds terrible inside there. I'll hook it up to a weak battery, just see if it does anything. Oh, I just got that free. Huh. Yeah, that was definitely jammed up. Well, let's see if it moves now. I have a car battery on the ground that, you know, I use for testing for stuff like this, so. Yeah, see, this works now. Yeah, that battery's really dead. But that spins. I don't know. What do you think? Should we put in the one that came off of the parts command, or should we just go with the original starter? I think I might go with that parts starter. Let's try the key on this, see what happens. Same horrifying sound. Something is not happy with that solenoid. I don't get it. And again, it could be a bad solenoid. Like I said, I did pull it out of the parts bin. Yeah. Alright, let's put the jump pack on the replacement starter here, see if we get a difference. What? It's almost like there's a bad ground to the engine itself, you know? See if I do it on the case. Why? That should go off. Yeah, see, it's bound up. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. I gotta get this. This cover is challenging because the gas tank kind of keeps it on. But there, the Bendix is caught up in the flywheel. Alright, I'm gonna put power to the starter. Okay, well, at least we got something there. That did seem really hard to spin, though. I had the key off. That's too bad. I'll give that one more try. Love to hear it just pop a bit, you know, see if we have some hope for this engine. Ah. And that Bendix is still up. I know it's supposed to go down when it spins faster, so, but strange. Let's finally test a solenoid in this video, huh? All right, so it's a tangled mess of wires, but I don't know if you can hear that continuity beep. Okay, so if the solenoid is working, when I apply power to it, you'll hear continuity, but we don't get any continuity. So I'm applying power, and you're hearing the click of the solenoid, but no continuity beep from my multimeter. So we do have a busted solenoid, even though this was one that I thought was good. That's why I put it in the parts bin. But looks like I gotta go to the store. So we had some developments off camera. Last you saw, I just tested out that solenoid and I thought it was bad, but it turns out it's not bad. Now, the reason is my little alligator clips were broken, so they were making no continuity between those alligator clips. Anyway, that took a little while to figure out. And then I just been messing around with the wiring connection and found that I had, well, the previous owner had this ground wire, which I'm not even sure, it just comes out of the main harness here. I'm not really sure what it's all about, but that was hooked up to the starter side of the solenoid, and it was making this thing click rapidly. And I was playing around with connections and connected it to the negative side of the battery and got one solid click, and I was like, I think I might have figured it out. So I got, again, a really weak battery in there. I'm struggling with batteries right now, but I got one charging, and my jump pack has a little life left in it. So let's see what happens here. I'm gonna hook up some juice to this. Alright, so you can hear we're starting to spin the engine now with no clicking. It just isn't spinning fast, and I'm worried that that's a symptom no matter what the condition of the battery is. I don't know why I'm getting such a slow starter, but let's hope we just need a really good battery and that this thing figures itself out. I just hooked up a fresh battery and just checking the oil here. It is super full. So, I mean, spinning the engine by hand, it's up to here. It's up to there when it should be there. I don't know if you can see that. It's up to here when it should be there. So spinning the engine by hand, it seems fine, but I wonder if this thing is hydro-locked some, and that might be causing some of the problems. So I drained some of the oil, so we're at the full mark now instead of past the full mark. And just to rule out a few things, I took off the starter battery lead and just added this one just to see if I was dealing with the corroded wire there, but didn't seem to make much of a difference. But let's try this again, see if we get anything. That's better. Yeah, I don't exactly know. This does not feel very hard to spin. So I'm not sure why. The compression isn't too bad, it feels perfect. So I'm not sure why we're not getting good crank. Again, it could be this battery is just toast. So I don't really have anything better, and my jump pack doesn't seem to be cutting it anymore. So I don't know what's going on here. We got some battery troubles, I think. Alright, so before I go and buy some batteries, let's just jump it to the car here. Get some real juice behind this. Such a slow crank. It's getting a little faster, but that's slow. I mean, you gotta assume that's the starter, huh? I don't know if we're getting any. It's gonna take probably a little while for this pump to work, but I'm gonna do a little shot of carb spray in here. I really do want to hear this engine fire off once. That'd be nice, huh? It was trying there for a second. Boy, it's really drawing some amps though. I don't know if these linkages are free. This one seems jammed. Wow, that's jammed. Huh, we gotta look into that. Okay, I've been messing around. One thing I just did was I put in some washers on the back end of the starter to space it out because I think the Bendix was binding because the starter was too close to the flywheel. So it cranks over a little bit better now. The only thing is I kept messing with the starter. So this is the original starter which has been beat on. So anyway, let's see if we can get this thing to fire once. There we go. Put a little more fluid in there, but it wanted to fire there. Still got a pretty weak battery. Come on. This battery just stinks. Man, we're close though. I'm hearing it fire, so that's good news. We'll call that at least a win for now. Get the battery pack jumper hooked up to it. Try again. Come on. It is not getting any fuel. As far as I can tell, it's not pumping anything, but maybe we can get it to run a little bit off the starting fluid. Okay, this is at least some success. We need to get ourselves a good battery, and we got to figure out why it's not pumping fuel yet. Right, we're getting real messy in the shed right now, but I took the fuel tank off because, like I said, it didn't seem like I was getting fuel, but I got all this loose, and someone has been here before me. This is like the little grommet at the bottom of the fuel tank. But let me see if I can get this bit of fuel line out and show you one of the problems. Alright, look at that pinched fuel line. The base of this was pinching that fuel line completely shut. So remember, the story with this is, you know, after their buddy did an oil change, I bet he took a bunch of stuff apart apparently, put this back together, pinched off the fuel line, and it never really ran since. So hopefully I can put this grommet back on. Doesn't look like it's in great shape. Well, we had a fuel tank grommet failure, so that was pretty catastrophic. A lot of gasoline in the shed right now. I was onto something too. I was really feeling like I was solving this fuel problem, and then that grommet gave out, so I have an auxiliary tank on here right now. And hoping we can start to see some, I can see some fuel trickling in. That's good. So we're gonna crank this a bit, see if we can't get this thing to fire off. That'd be nice, right? Really thinking about it. Be nice to have a good battery, huh? Someday, guys, you'll see this run. Alright, we're getting fuel. Ooh, we're getting fuel in a couple different places. This is leaking bad now. Sometimes you get a free mower and you don't wonder why it was free. This is one of them. Looks like it's leaking above the pump, so it might just be that bit of fuel line there. Well, some safety or something isn't working. Oh, it's the seat safety, I bet. Once I took it off of the parking brake, it stalled. So I think we got a seat safety issue. I know it's unplugged, but it runs. We finally heard it run. Oh, I've been waiting for that. All right, let's jump it one more time. Well, it's a week later, and the whole hang up was with this bushing here on the fuel tank. So this bushing goes in like that. Then you get this 90-degree elbow for the fuel line. That pushes in, goes like that. Well, this just pops right on out because it's totally destroyed. I'm sure you can see that. It's all messed up. So here's the part. Came in this nice big box. But there we go. Brand new bushing. Fits right in. There's the elbow. Good, it feels much stiffer. Probably do like a little shot of WD-40 on that. Much better. There we go. Fixed. See if it holds fuel. We are dry. Well, I almost forget where we left off with this, but from what I vaguely remember, it was about to run. We just had the fuel tank problem. I had discovered that pinched fuel line, and then all of that resulted in breaking that bushing, which was about to fall apart. And then I had to pause the project there. Well, let's see what happens now. Like that's full. Maybe we'll just help it out with a bit of starting fluid. Wow, it runs great. Just needed a shot of starting fluid. I'm gonna get this engine cover, secure here because it's just sitting there, and let's take this thing for a ride. Well, what you didn't see was that I actually put a different carburetor on this thing. I couldn't get that thing to stop flooding. I put the new needle and float in there, and it just kept flooding, so I threw a different carb on and fired up, and runs great. And I just did a bunch of mowing with it. So we're in good shape here. The hydrostatic works great on this. Mowing deck works great. We are just missing a headlight bezel. So I gotta think about that, whether or not I want a spring for it. And I think this thing would benefit from at least some black paint. You know, maybe grind this decal off and spray paint that part black. Besides that, I don't think it needs any touch up on the orange. But all cleaned up, this thing would look really nice. It's not very glamorous work here. We're about the temperature in the year where we can't really use the pressure washer because it's freezing at nights, and so I got that thing stored away for the winter. So now we're just left to clean stuff like this by hand. but I have the correct paint for this. I just purchased it, and I figured I would repaint this deck, even though it really doesn't need it, but I guess I'm doing it. And while the tractor's in the shop, I'll be doing some black paint touch-up. Pretty sure I'm going to get rid of this whole decal here, take off the treads, tape off parts of the tractor, repaint the stuff that is chipped. Then I'll have to get this thing all cleaned up by hand. I don't think I'm going to purchase the headlight bezel. I think I'm going to do something wacky with LED lights. So stay tuned for that. We'll see what happens. While working on this deck, I did notice a few things that were missing or broken. It's supposed to have a bolt that goes through here, and I did notice that this roller just sort of flopped around. The other thing that's wrong with this is the little push button that's supposed to be on top of that. You can sort of see the rod in there, but something's wrong with that. This thing moves up and down. That rod goes all the way through here to there. Something's wrong with that. I don't know if there's supposed to be a spring. Something's wrong, so I gotta investigate that too. But I think what I'm gonna do here is try to take off all the black hardware. It's gonna make it a lot easier to paint. Probably the spindles too, as long as, you know, the bolts don't shear when I take them off. So we'll see if we can get all the metal hardware off this. Then I can clean that up a lot better if I tape off the decals and then paint it. Well, it's 4:24 and it's already getting dark, so probably got some low light conditions here. But I got the deck all stripped down, pretty much with no fuss, getting off all those spindles, and the leveler hardware and all that sort of stuff came off pretty good. Got it ground down, stickers taped off, degreased, cleaned up as good as I can get it. So we're gonna paint it now, and I have this stuff, which is, it says Briggs & Stratton, but this is the Simplicity paint. I guess Briggs makes it. This is 1685811. You might see SM at the end too. YP Orange. So this is the right product for this tractor. I got that product number from the inside of the hood of the tractor. So ordered that, and that's what came. So I'm gonna get this painted a bit, and we'll get you a little closer here and let you see what this color looks like. I don't know if you can tell, but already it's a perfect match. So we got ourselves the right product, but we only have one canned. So let's make this can last. I'm gonna favor the touch-up spots. You know, I got spots like this right here. We'll favor that, and then as things develop, we'll see if we can cover the whole thing. Okay, there's one coat. Looks great. You know, those cans of spray paint, they're almost like $30, but again, it's a free tractor. I haven't spent much at all on this, so I can spring for the OEM paint. All right, we'll give that a day to cure. We'll come back. I got like 1/8 of a can left, and then we'll give that a light second coat. And that's all she's gonna get. It's the next day. I got this done. I decided to just go with painter's tape. I had to do this quick. I gotta get inside with the family, but you know, sometimes your project comes out the way it does because of your time constraints, and sometimes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. I'd like to tape a lot more of this off, but anyway, I got it done. It looks pretty good. These parts are getting painted. I'm gonna have to flip some of them, but they're looking pretty good. And the deck has a light second coat on it right now, so we are sitting pretty good. This is painted now, looking pretty good. Got the foot treads back on. It's time to start addressing some of the concerns with the mowing deck. First thing being the push button on this height adjuster. I have some of this removed here. I'll show you what we're working with. It's this thing, and I think somehow there needed to be more rod on this. It just doesn't poke out from the handle. So I'm not the best fabricator, but I have this bit of rod in the vise here, and I'm gonna just grind off like, say, that much, and then weld it onto this end. And then, you know, hopefully I can then adjust the rod when it's reinstalled, and that would let me disengage and engage the hook that basically hooks it into the height adjustment that you need. You know, I might need to put some sort of thing on the top so you can grab it. We'll see, but let's start by just zipping off a couple of inches of this. So this is what it's like back together. You know, something like that. Obviously, I didn't measure this. I left it really long. I can zip it wherever it needs to be. Something like that. I don't know what it was supposed to be. I feel like you just pressed it in with your thumb, right? You press it in with your thumb and you move the thing. So, but it seems to be that, I don't know, lifting it engages it, brings that down. So unless something's reversed there, but I think the way I see it is you lift it, get it into the notch, then this thing just, it holds. You know, once it's in the notch, it holds. And if you want it out of the notch, yeah, you push it down. Yeah, no, that's right. I don't know, there should be a spring or something. Should it have a spring? That's the part that it notches into. Maybe I could put a spring on it somehow. I don't know. We'll figure it out, right? Look at this brand new mowing deck. That looks great. I think I figured out this height adjustment. I added a spring to keep basically downward pressure on this. So as I let's see, push that down, pretend I'm just pushing that down with my thumb, because then if I let go, it just immediately goes into the slot. So I can like easily just, you know, basically just use your thumb. I'm gonna cut this to like here. I'll have to put some sort of thing on there so it doesn't hurt your thumb. But I think we figured it out. And I added a bolt and a nut on this side, so that roller actually does raise and lower the deck height appropriately. Before, this part was sagging. That was all hooked up correctly on that, but this roller was all messed up. But yep, it's working right now. Let's see if we can just tidy this up. Just got the grass deflector on, and I used a valve stem nut. It's like one of those corny bullet ones. Looks like a bullet. I took those off of some tractor that I got a ways back, and I just JB welded it onto there. So that's my little button for that. But that thing works great. Really happy with the way this mowing deck came out. The rest of the tractor needs a nice little cleanup. And like I said, I have an idea for those headlights. I'll show you that when the parts come in. It might take me a little bit today. My back is sore today. I know you guys who work on this stuff, you know what I mean. Sometimes you're just not feeling it. But I'm going to get this installed today. Might take me a little while. We'll get it in. There we go. I mean, it is almost done. I got it polished up. You gotta do all this stuff by hand when you don't have the power washer. But everything is looking really nice. Hood cleaned up pretty well. There's still some little spots, but nothing too bad. This thing was pretty dirty. Did paint that muffler with some high heat paint. Obviously this whole area got some black Rust-Oleum. The deck got redone. I mean, from about 6, 7, 8 feet away, it looks brand new. Always nice when the seat is in perfect condition. Okay, last thing is headlights. We'll get to it. And oh, and I have to do a service on this engine. I have an air filter coming, and I could do the oil on the filter, but I'll wait till that air filter gets here. Almost done. Well, you have to film the bad stuff too. This oil filter will not come out, and it's getting mangled, and I don't know what to do. So I've tried all my tools. I'd like to say apply some heat, but it's covered in oil right now. Even this drain is seized. So, just gonna walk away from this one. We'll try to figure it out later. Finally. Man. Whew. Wasn't sure I was going to get back from this one. Why? Look at that. A lot of people saying that what seizes is the seal, the O-ring seizes, but I don't know. I think that was the threads for sure. So there's the new one, just tightened hand tight. You know, no reason to go crazy. Which I'm sure it wasn't over tightened. It just seized, probably from never being changed. But got new oil in there now, new filter, and the last thing are the headlights. Let me show you what I got. So I picked these up on eBay. They're made out of plastic. That kind of looks like black metal. It's not, it's plastic. Cheap as anything. These two, $11. Yep. So actually got two, there's two LEDs in both of them, you know, so there's gonna be 4 LED lights in here. So it came with mounting brackets. We're gonna figure out how I can mount this onto the hood. So here's what I came up with a bracket for this light. It's just a little 90-degree piece of flat bar, and it's gonna sit in there like that. And the other one will go over here. So just mark a little hole there, pilot drill, and then we'll get a bolt in there, and it should be mounted up, and then we have to check to make sure these things work, and then we have to wire them. This is what we came up with. We have lights. I have to wire this all up tomorrow. I don't have time to do it right now, but check back in and should have working lights. It's halfway decent, right? It's gonna look cool once they're on. Here's what it looks like on the inside with this little 90-degree bracket just bolted on. That's pretty simple. And then we have these short wire leads that we'll have to connect up to here's the light wiring harness here. The lights are all hooked up. Everything seems to be checking out with all those wires, but we got a problem with our switch over here, so took that assembly off, and I got the switch over here. Everything was seized on there, so one of these tabs broke off. That's not totally a big deal because something's very wrong with this. It basically has no internals. Like, here's your switch. It doesn't click. It just sort of loosely goes. And I don't know what it would move in there. You know, those two things rock back and forth. And what would they do? Nothing. There's literally nothing happening in there. So it seems like the internals of that switch are busted. So I'm gonna see if I can find another one. I might have something similar. I doubt I have like a Simplicity switch, but see what I can come up with here. Got it. Temporarily at least. Looks pretty sweet though. So I had to rob a switch from another tractor. It doesn't fit in that hole. So it looks like I'm gonna have to look up a Simplicity part. It's either that or find some way to make this thing work. Let me think about it some more. Maybe I'll find some way. I mean, it doesn't seem like it'd be too hard. I just don't know why this doesn't click at all. Because that's going to be pretty useless. But anyway, we have lights. This tractor is basically done. And looking pretty good, I think. Here's something that might work. I just popped this rocker out, and here's the switch I robbed from another tractor. Should be able to cut out some of this plastic here, widen this cutout, and then slip this right in, and then of course this fits right into the tractor. So I think that's what we'll do. These are very replaceable, so I can replace that switch in the tractor I stole it from. That's not a problem. Plus that thing has a blown engine right now, so not a big concern. Okay, this is what I came up with. It sits down in there a little bit, but you better believe I'm running with that. So the main issue was just that fitting in this hole, you know, but I think we got it. Let's put it together. Not bad. You can see the lights on the door there and watch it flicker. Well, in about 20 minutes it'll be pitch black, so we'll take it for a ride out here. Well, thanks again for coming along for another tractor repair. This one was a bit of a hassle with the diagnosis. A lot of electrical problems, and we even had carburetor problems, and you know, the list kept going on, but I'm very happy with the way this one came out. I'm glad I restored that mowing deck. Thing looks about as new as you can get with something that's missing that headlight bezel, but those LEDs are okay. All right, this one will get sold in the spring. Definitely gonna hold on to it, but thanks again for viewing the channel. Thanks for the likes and the subscribes. I'm Kyle by the Creek. We'll see you next time.